YouTube, guys. I had a memory problem and had to shut down and restart, and this is going to wind up being a two-parter on YouTube. And I'm just gonna roll again in a few seconds. Hello, and I'm back. You probably didn't know I was away, but I ran into a computer problem there, and I've been down for about 10 minutes sorting with it. And if you're on YouTube, this is probably going to just be two different YouTube videos, the first 15 minutes and the last however long. But I just before it crashed, I was saying that, well, as you know, because there is no gap in your life, but I got to try and get myself back on track. That 39 episodes, a 75% ratio of the 39 episodes. And here's some of the things we talked about over the course of the year. This is really the significant stuff that happened. The big stuff was the remasters. In June, the first 3 albums were released. And we talked about that in episodes 62, 63, 64, and 66. 65, we kind of went into some other stuff revolving around Robert Plant's album and I think John Paul Jones being out with Dave Rawlings. So we didn't get to Led Zeppelin 3 until July instead of covering it in June with the other 2. But yeah, that was... And then, of course, in at the end of October, 4 in Houses of the Holy released, and we covered that material as well. I should have it down here. I forgot. I'll do it next time. I got the box set number 4 for Christmas. Sitting upstairs. I've listened to the main album. I haven't listened to the bonus album yet. Or Christmas is such a busy time sometimes, and there's always people around him. And my son broke his feet, not foot, mark you, feets, plural. So he's been, he's kind of in the living room. The living room is where everything happens, including I listen to records and he watches TV. He's kind of been plunked on the couch most of the time. I'm well versed in my Fresh Prince of Bel-Air episodage because he's been marathoning that on Netflix. So I'm way up on my Will Smith Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, which has, by the way, I laugh to say, a Led Zeppelin collection. Carlton, the cousin, the son of the rich uncle Will Smith goes to live with in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. His favorite song he has a dance. He has a fancy dance. Arms fly, and he usually does it to Tom Jones. It's Not Unusual, featuring Jimmy Page guitar. So it's kind of everywhere sometimes. If you're looking for it, if you get your nose to the Led Zeppelin grindstone, it turns up a lot. So yeah, the remasters were the big thing, as well as Robert Plant's solo album, Lullaby and the Ceaseless Roar, in September. And in March, we also had Minibus Pimps, Cloud to Ground was released. So we had 5 Led Zeppelin albums re-released, plus a solo album by Robert Plant and a Minibus Pimps album by John Paul Jones. And of course, we reviewed all that, talked about all that. That was the big stuff this year. That really was. And then Jimmy did his book release in late October / November, and went and seen him at the 96th Street Y in New York City with a bunch of other Zeppelin fans. Hi, Beth. Amongst others. Beth's the one I know who listens and follows along. So that's what that was the big stuff. That was like the new out stuff sort of thing that was released. But that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 episodes out of 39. So we had to kill some space on the other 31. And I just wanted to go over some of this stuff that in January, of course, Jimmy Page turned 70. It was also the 45th anniversary of Led Zeppelin 1 in January of last year. So it's been 45 years this band has been doing what they do, really. 46, 47 years now if you go back to 1968. But realistically, 68 was getting their feet wet stuff. It all started in 69. We also celebrated the 35th year anniversary of Nebworth, the first and second, and as well the same month In Through the Outdoor, 35 years since In Through the Outdoor and Nebworth. Led Zeppelin's last studio album, not including Coda, which was a compilation of unreleased material, not so much a studio album. And Nebworth 1 and 2, which were kind of their last really big shows. They did another tour in 1980, which we'll get to this year, of course. But it's not, they weren't. There was no, there was no huge shows like say Tampa Arena, some of the LA shows that they did. Madison Square Gardens. There was nothing like that in the 1980 tour. So Nebworth was their last big shows. And as well in August, it was 20 years since Page and Plant recorded Unleaded, which is to say 20 years since Jimmy Page and Robert Plant reunited in basically a new band. But of course they did all the old Zeppelin material, and that's the thing we've been waiting for ever since, really. But no such luck. And in October we saw the anniversary of the release of Zuma, which was 15 years old, and Honey Drippers, which was 30 years old. This past October, a couple of books came out in the fall. Fall is the common time for books because it'll run up to Christmas. We had Robert Plant's The Voice That Sailed the Zeppelin. Going through my end of year stats today on Google AdSense for the blogs and Amazon, I noticed 2 people bought The Voice That Sailed the Zeppelin through the website, through rambleonradio.com on Amazon. So if you did that, thank you. I appreciate it. So there was the box set. Somebody bought the box sets. I suspect one person bought all the box sets in a link up through me. But it may be different people bought. But there was kind of one of each box set was bought as well. Grand total of $8, I think I made, by the way. It's I'm not getting rich off this. But thank you for going that route, because it doesn't cost you any extra. And it drops a few pennies in the jar here, and any 7-8 years I get that check for $100. I can spend some money. Is what happens. It probably takes about 8 years, yeah. And I imagine after this year it won't be so lucrative because there won't be re-releases to say. But anyway, one thing's for sure: I'm not doing this gig for the money. Like I say, having totaled my ins and outs for the blogs, the websites, and this, because I have ads on the blogs, Revenue Canada will insist that I claim that money. So therefore, I also claim expenses. I wouldn't bother if you're just trying to get the ads to do a little less. Maybe. Hopefully, sooner or later it would pay for itself. It never has, but they will insist that you claim it. So I will insist on getting my expenses, any legitimate expenses. I don't pad it or anything. I'm fairly legitimate. But if I go out and buy a Led Zeppelin CD, which I'm going to talk about here and write about on the blog, then that's a legitimate expense, and I do that. Anyway, that's, I don't know why I got off on that tangent. Yeah, and so the other one was Glenn John's Sound Man. I raved about it. I bought it for a couple of people at Christmas even. I did notice on FBO for badge holders only, a couple of people didn't like it very much, which surprised me. I thought it was an excellent book. It was just a good, easy read, and he has lots of... I did this, I did that, worked on this, worked on that. How basically, he moved around and did this and that. Yes, there was not a lot of stories of, I guess, but I just felt that, those stories are all kind of out there anyway. There was nothing he could add to it, really, was there? I really enjoyed the Glenn Johns book. Others not so much. take your buy it with that in mind, I guess, if you're going to buy it. And also in November, we're looking at 5 years since Them Crooked Vultures was released. That was kind of the last big thing we talked about. So that was the year that passed. That was the year that was. I have to tell you the truth. I thought this was going to be a longer podcast than it's turning out to be. But I'm just kind of blowing through this stuff fairly quickly here. I should slow down, drink that whiskey. Slow things down. Anyway, so looking forward, 2015. Obviously, there's the remasters. We don't know what's going to happen going forward dates-wise on that. But it sounds like, and no, Jimmy, this is not me telling you what you're doing. But it sounds like from the stuff you pick up from stuff that Jimmy said that they'll be done by the end of this year. I'm anticipating myself. February Physical Graffiti, that sounds like it's not been announced, but that sounds like it's a go. It's going to be on the 40th anniversary of Physical Graffiti at the end of February. And February is going to be on this blog Physical Graffiti Month. Assuming the remasters are coming out, I will spend the first 3 weeks kind of going, I'll go do side one, or album one, album two, and then we'll talk about the album as a whole, and then we'll talk about the remasters. That'll be 4 weeks. That's my plan as it stands now. As well in February is the 15 years since the release of Jimmy Page and the Black Crowes album on February 29, which I don't believe there is a February 29 this year, so we may just miss that one. We may blow past it and not notice it. But, yeah, I'm just noticing that now. That was a leap year, I guess, 15 years ago. No? What's wrong with that picture? Yeah? Oh, no, it would be 2000, wouldn't it? Yeah, it'd be 2000. 15 years ago, it'd be 2000. Yeah, I'm working out the math in my head here and not doing good. I'm still thinking fours. So yeah, 2000 was a leap year, so February 29. Okay. So maybe we'll wait till next year to celebrate the 4th anniversary of that release. I'm going to write that down in my thing. Also, we'll be looking at the last tour. 35 years ago this year was the final tour, as we just talked about, through June and July through Europe. And I will talk about that in some detail, I suspect, in June and July. And the last ever Led Zeppelin concert with John Bonham was July 7, 1980, 35 years ago. And definitely we'll talk about that in some detail. I will pull out, there is audio of those, and I will probably even play some audio from it, which I don't normally do. I don't see me not covering that and something along that vein. Having said that, I'll forget about it by then. But that I said to, but yeah, I just thinking about it. That probably makes sense to play some actual audio from that concert for you now. And in October, we got the release of 45 years since the release of Led Zeppelin 3, which was October 4, 1970. And of course, on November 21st, we have 20 years since Peter Grant died. And I will definitely be talking about that in some detail in November. So that's the up and coming. That's what's going to happen in 2015 here on Ramble on Radio. Hopefully we can blow off another 40 or 50, 40 or 45 episodes. Have it in the groove and just keep pushing through them. Hopefully that's how it'll work. I'd love to do 50. I suspect 40 is probably the realistic number over the course of a year. So, yeah, and that's what we got to look forward to this year. So I hope you'll stick with me and enjoy it. I've certainly enjoyed doing this. So Happy New Year to everybody. And that's it for Ramble on Radio, episode 82. Check rambleonradio.com for notes on this week's podcast, Led Zeppelin news and reviews, and any links mentioned in today's podcast. Follow Ramble on Radio on Facebook, Google+, and at Ramble on Blog on Twitter. You can subscribe to Ramble on Radio through iTunes. Don't forget to leave a review. Listen on Spreaker, Spreaker, and be sure to follow Ramble on Radio on Spreaker. And check it out at Ramble on Radio on YouTube, where this week only, it'll be in 2 separate parts, I believe. There'll be an 82A and B, because we had that problem in the middle. Instead of farting around with putting it together and stuff, I'll probably just upload them to 2 separately and go from there. So thanks for listening to Ramble on Radio, episode 82. Keep it coolin', babies. See ya, YouTube guys.